Candidates, how are you? Good evening, candidates. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
Great, thank you. My name is Keenan Gray, and I am a special needs teacher at Plainfield High School, where I teach history. And my co-moderator, Ms. Tahima Williams, will introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Tahima Williams. I am the district literacy coach at Plainfield Public Schools.
We'd like to welcome you to the PEA Candidate Forum. PEA is not endorsing any candidate, but rather providing this space for information sharing with the community. This meeting is being recorded and will be available for future viewing. Questions have already been previously submitted, and no further questions will be taken tonight. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Here are the rules of the event. We will be going in alphabetical order. Once again, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. We will have our timekeeper. This event will be recorded and shared for all interested parties. This event will run from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and following introductions of our candidates, we will begin our questions. So I would like to start our introductions off in alphabetical order with Ms. Persons, Anderson Person. Ms. Person, you're on mute.
Always forget that part.
There we go.
Oh, hi, and hello, and good evening. I would like to, first of all, thank the Plainfield Education Association, all of its members, for the invitation tonight to your school board forum. Again, my name is Lynn Anderson Person. I am a resident of the city of Plainfield. My husband, Barry, and our daughter, Jasmine, have lived in the beautiful city of Plainfield for a number of years now. And our daughter is a student in the Plainfield Public School District. When I was asked to run for the seat on the Plainfield Board of Education, it was exciting. And I was excited for the opportunity to serve, and I really jumped at the chance to be part of delivering a high quality education to all of our children. While serving as a member of the Plainfield Board of Education, I've been able to work to ensure that our teachers received an increase in their salaries across the board over the next 3 years. Also worked during COVID-19 to ensure that our buildings and our infrastructure was renovated and repaired so that our staff and our students would be safe. And again, my interest in becoming a school board member and being reelected to the board was born out of a natural instinct of being a concerned parent. And I was concerned about what our child was learning and getting the right teachers, and really just hoping that our daughter would develop a love of learning and be pushed to higher levels of learning. So again, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and vote column 1, Lynn Anderson Person, Carmesita Pyle, Shatira Smith. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Mr. Azim Gray. You're on mute, Mr. Gray.
Hello, good evening. My name is Azim Gray. I wanted to thank everyone that's watching. Also wanted to thank the PEA for allowing candidates to come to the forum to have a conversation about who is the best in leadership for our schools. I wanted to start out with saying my name is Azim. I've been a resident of Plainfield for the past 8 years. I came here because of education to attend Rutgers University as a graduate student. Plainfield was the first place that I happened to stumble upon, and thank God that it was the first place that I actually happened to find an apartment, because for the last 8 years, my wife and I have called this place our home. So I'm running for a seat on the Plainfield Board of Education, largely because I have 2 daughters there in the district. They are my world. I care about both of my daughters. I care about their education, guiding their educational journey as well. And also I'm a homeowner in Plainfield. So those 2 things drove me to become a part of the school board, because I want to see the district improve in the next 3 years. It's not going to take 9 years, right? Like the opposition column 1 is. We want to improve the district within the next 3 years. So I thank you so much for the opportunity, for allowing me to convey that. And also, I look forward to a very informative forum tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Thank you. And for the record, there is no relation between myself and Mr. Azim Gray.
Yeah, and we spell our last names differently, so.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Ms. Hembry. Ms. Hembry, you're on mute. You're good.
Good now? Okay.
Yes.
Hi, thanks for inviting me to this forum. I'm Pat Hembry. I am a resident of Plainfield. I spent my career as a teacher at Plainfield High School. So there are so many things I've done as a teacher. And the most important thing, passionate about my students. And in order to continue their journey, to make sure they have academic excellence, that's the reason I chose to run for the board. I want to continue helping students to receive academic excellence by making sure they have all the teachers have all the resources necessary so that students can learn. There are one thing my team wants more than ever. We want to bring back vocational education back to the district. When I first started in Plainfield, we had a vibrant vocational education wing. And over the years, after the teachers retired, they were not replaced. And everyone has to remember, students have to have options. Everyone does not go to college. So students need a skill. They need skills so that once they leave Plainfield High School, they can go out and get a job. So that is the reason I am, and my team, we would love to bring vocational education back. Is that 2 minutes up?
That is 2 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Hembry.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
All right. Next, we have Ms. Shatira Smith.
Good evening to the residents of Plainfield, family, friends. Thank you to the PEA Association for creating this platform for us. My name is Shatira Smith, and I was born and raised in the city of Plainfield. I'm currently seeking a seat on the Plainfield Board of Education to bridge the gap and help make a difference for the next generation of leaders, by improving graduation rates, raising student reading levels, and preparing our students for future success. As an active public servant and human resource professional, I've been dedicated to improving the lives of children through education, mentorship programs that offer college and career readiness, travel that inspires and challenges students socially and intellectually, and another one that brings awareness to hygiene as well as bullying. I have always been committed to making sure our youth receive resources needed to flourish. I moved back to my hometown to do the work. I'm a homeowner. I understand the duty to advocate for the changes that are needed for our students. And that's why I'm here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Thank you so much. And finally, we have Ms. Shantae Smith.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shantae Smith, but to the kids, I'm affectionately known as Ms. Shantae. I would like to begin by thanking the members of the Plainfield Education Association. Thank you, Keith, Melissa, and Bashan, and for inviting us to participate this evening and hosting such an important forum. We're so close to Election Day, so thank you for giving the voters of Plainfield an additional time to digest what their options are and who they are trusting with the seats of the Board of Education. I am a proud lifelong resident of Plainfield. I'm a mom, I'm a children's book author, and I have over 10 years of experience with early childhood education. I'm a recent graduate of Plainfield Public School District. Since I graduated high school in 2011, I have been actively involved in community initiatives, humanitarian efforts, and volunteer assignments locally and internationally. I believe serving on Plainfield Board of Education will allow me to use my voice to advocate for children and families who feel as though their academic needs are being left unheard. I am excited to contribute my genuine love for children, passion for education and drive to the Plainfield Public School District to be what the city needs as far as what change looks like. I look forward to this evening's exchange, and I am grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And Ms. Pyle, I do apologize sincerely, I do. Ms. Pyle, you are up. Thank you so much for reminding me, sorry.
Oh, not a problem. Well, good evening, Plainfield Education Association, and thank you so much for organizing this forum so our neighbors and voters can join in and meet and hear the candidates for the Plainfield Board of Education. I am Carmen Cedar Pyle, and I am a longtime resident of this great city of Plainfield, New Jersey. 3 of my girls attended Plainfield Public Schools. 2 are now in college, and 1 is in the 11th grade at Plainfield Academy of the Arts and Advanced Studies, known as PAS. I am running for re-election because I think having experience and being able to work with stakeholders, not only in Plainfield, but across the state and the nation, is imperative to improving our schools. Over the past 6 years that I've served on the board, I've rolled up my sleeves and put in the work to be one of Plainfield's biggest advocates. I have made it a priority to communicate with parents and students, school board members across New Jersey and across the United States. I work alongside city elected officials, community organizations, and I've traveled to Washington, D.C. and personally communicated the district's issues with Senator Bob Menendez, Senator Cory Booker, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, and other elected officials. Being a board member is not a job you learn to do overnight. It's taken time to build strategic relationships, and by attending multiple government workshops and training with the New Jersey School Board Association to better learn how to do my job. I'm asking for your vote this election so I can finish the work we started on the board and so that we can do more, not only for the kids, but also the teachers and staff. I have worked on raising teachers and bus drivers' salaries and made our school facilities more accessible for after-school activities. I look forward to our conversation this evening and sharing with you my plan and vision for Plainfield Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pyle. Thank you. In a moment, we will begin our questioning. There are 6 questions. Each of you will have an opportunity to answer the questions first. All right. We will split a question between me and Ms. Williams, and we will start now. The first question will go to Ms. Lynn Anderson Person, and after she answers, everyone else will fall in place. I'll call you in order. The first question is, can you please share your experience in policymaking, education, and management, and in particular, your experiences working with the Plainfield community?
Great, thank you. So as a school board member for the last 6 years, I've worked in the area of policy. And that is one of our jobs as school board members, to revise and to bring in new policies. So to date, with our tenure on the board, myself and Ms. Pyle, we've seen approximately over 200 policy revisions completed, as well as over 140 new policies introduced to the Plainfield Public School District. As well as in terms of my background, I work as a licensed realtor. I've been doing that for over 20 years now. That allows me to understand that you have to interact with people, many different types of people that you may come into contact with, different races, different backgrounds. And my additional background is in district manager, as well as a sales trainer. But one of the key things, just in terms of my relationship with Plainfield as a realtor, one of the key things that always comes up when people look to buy and move into a community, the first question they want to know is, how are the schools? And that has been an issue where Plainfield has been struggling over the last 25, 30 years to try to reimagine our school district, to try and improve our reputation so that when parents think about who they're going to choose, they will choose Plainfield Public Schools. I think the district has done some very good things in terms of a rewrite of the total curriculum that they're doing over the last couple of years, because our parents were saying they wanted the curriculum to be more rigorous. So we worked and voted to approve that. as well as working to ensure that our students are up to date with technology, having one-to-one devices. We had that well ahead of the curve of COVID, which allowed our students to be better prepared to deal with instruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. President. Next up, Mr. Gray, same question.
Can you repeat the question for me again?
Absolutely. Can you please share your experience in policymaking, education, and management, and in particular, your experiences working with the Plainfield community?
Sorry, I just had to take it off of my picture there. So my experience, so first and foremost, my educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in political science and also urban planning. I come from the urban economic and development space by way of Philadelphia. I started out there working in the Department of Neighborhood and Economic Development, seeing the development going on, seeing the gentrification in my own community of West Philadelphia growing up. It made me very conscious of the development, how development should take place in a city. So, transition over from, the community government space to work in labor organizing. So I've directly worked with several unions, most notable the Service Employees International Union, 32BJ. I was a organizer there for a very long period of time. Then did some electoral work as an organizer as well. And I landed in New Jersey as a graduate assistant working out of Rutgers, but also volunteering and also working part-time at the YMCA in Plainfield, New Jersey when it was open. So my direct space that I come from is the community development organizing space, and also directly working with allied professionals in order to drive towards common goals, common community related goals. And then currently right now I'm on the Netherwood Neighborhoods Association. I'm involved actively in my community through the various civic associations as well. But majority of my thinking, thought process. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, we'll have Ms. Hembry. Ms. Hembry, do you need me to read the question again? I can't hear you, Ms. Hembry.
Yes.
Okay. The question reads, can you please share your experience in policymaking, education, and management, and in particular, your experiences working with the Plainfield community?
First of all, policy is part of what a board member does. It is the responsibility. It's similar to your legislation because it is your guide, it is your law for the school district. Everything is policy. And for education, all the policies that pertain to education, my connection, for example, hiring translators for the biliteracy program, hiring translators for the community, everything is policy. As far as policy working with the community, working with the PTA I have a history of that. Having monthly meetings with senior parents, having dinners for them to bring them into the fold so they can understand what is going on. They can understand what their children need in order to graduate. Also, I have tutored for years, tutored children in the community and their parents, because I was part of a literacy program for many, many years. So, I could go on and on about my participation in the community. I have always worked with the parents. Matter of fact, The last thing that I was part of is before I left the high school, and it still exists even now. I have a group of students who are grown-ups now, who are parents. And what we formed together are committees that anytime the kids needed something, especially with prom time, that's a big thing for 12th graders. Need the hair done, need the nails done, whatever. And I had to, that was my community outreach program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hemphrey. Ms. Pyle, you are up. Would you like me to read the question for you?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so as a school board member, one of our major roles and responsibilities is to adopt local policies. And I'm happy to tell you my story regarding policy 1330, the use of school facilities, which was approved by the board in December of 2021. In my 5th year as a school board member, I was able to study, research, and revise and work with the board on policy 1330, and it was approved. This means the fees for the use of the facilities will be waived for 501c3 youth-based organizations with organizational liability insurance. So the fees that youth-based organizations use for renting the school facilities can now be used for their trips, uniforms, or anything else they want to do. And to be perfectly open with everyone, while I was walking the neighborhoods campaigning, I met up with John. I said I was going to say his name, John on Oakland Avenue. And he asked me, what was I going to do with the kids on the corner of Leland and South with cups and buckets asking for money? And I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, I told him my policy 1330 story. And he looked at me and said, that did not stop him, that did not stop them from continuing to do it. And he was very concerned about their safety. So now my plan as a parent, as a school board member, and a very strong advocate for our children is to research what is out there that will help our students find grant monies that will provide our youth-based organizations with funds that will help them to purchase the uniforms and the transportation and whatever else they need, just to stop them from basically panhandling money. So everyone stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pyle. Thank you so much. Ms. Shatira Smith, you are next. Would you like me to read the question for you?
No, that's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Policy and management is something that I do in my daily in my profession. I've been an HR professional for 14 years. I'm constantly creating, assessing, rewriting policy to assist with creating ways that will make the culture of our environment, of the environment better, of the agencies that I work for, or comfortable and safe for the employees. I also manage people, manage processes that are in place to make sure they're efficient and effective. And I also manage day-to-day operations for my organization to make sure things are working properly. As far as my experience with education, I've partnered with schools throughout New York and New Jersey through the nonprofit organizations to offer various assistance, with anti-bullying, hygiene awareness, traveling abroad, mentoring, and also college and career readiness program, a program that I actually have through my company that I created. I've worked with Plainfield community several times through my company. I've been given to families for the past several years during the Christmas season, offering clothes, gifts, gift cards, you name it. Make sure they have it done, make sure that Christmas is great. I recently just donated 250 hygiene products to Cedarbrook School, which is the school I went to. So that was also very near and dear to do that. But I love my community and I'm always thinking of ways to give back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Next up and final candidate for this question is Ms. Shante Smith. Ms. Smith, would you like me to read the question for you?
No, thank you. So working closely with the Plainfield community is one of my greatest achievements. I remember in my late teens walking up and down Park Ave, just looking around, seeing the social issues regarding our people and the children. It really made me want to become proactive, sympathetic, and take action when it comes to their needs. So over the years, I've been active with prom dress giveaways, being an advocate for children's literacy as a published author, to spending time during the pandemic, giving away baby clothes and essentials to new moms, because at the time I was one. In 2013, I partnered with Plainfield Community Television, and I directed a documentary featuring over 20 children from Plainfield titled The When I Grow Up Project. We traveled throughout the city and we interviewed community leaders so that children can be motivated, encouraged, and inspired to follow their dreams, despite what the obstacles in their future may be faced with, while also learning about career options, vocational training, interview skills, and filmmaking. I actually saw one of my student participants not too long ago, and she's now 17 years old and represents Plainfield as Miss Plainfield Teen. And she expressed to me how the When I Grow Up project was life-changing for her. So the impact I have made on families and children over the past 10 years is where my education and my management lies. From there, I had the opportunity of participating in Rutgers New Leadership and Ready to Run, which are both national nonpartisan public leadership training programs addressing women's underrepresentation in politics. This is where I had my first understanding that policy is what governs how our schools are operated. From there, it was time for me to hit the ground running. So now I look forward to going through the New Jersey School Board Association trainings because I have no intention of learning it overnight. I really want to improve my learning opportunities for myself and for the students of Plainfield.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. The next question will be coming from my co-moderator, Ms. Williams.
Hello. What are the qualifications that any candidate for superintendent must have? Will you allow PEA to be a part of the process of choosing the next superintendent? What can you propose as a strategy to attract new educators to join our district? Aside from competitive salaries, what attributes of Plainfield Public Schools could we enhance and promote to attract quality educators to the district? More importantly, how can we retain the talented staff we have now from leaving to go to other districts? Up first, Ms. Anderson-Person.
Just a point of clarity. Those were several questions, or is that one big question? Because there was a lot in there.
Right, the way we have it here, it was sent as one big question to be covered.
Oh, I interpret that as being individual sets of questions, but okay. All right. Oh, wow. Okay. I'll give it a whirl. All right. So in reference to the first question, which was around, or the first part of the question regarding the qualifications for a superintendent of schools. You know, the process, if done correctly, should involve the community being queried, the teachers union, the administrators union, and parents, and in terms of what qualities they believe would constitute, you know, for a superintendent. It has to be collaborative in that sense, because that is the process where we would meet with each one of those groups, find out what kind of qualities they are looking for. For myself as a board member, I would want a superintendent to be collaborative. I would want that person to be a strong leader. I would want that person to be able to handle multiple things at the same time. That's my individual requirements, but the process would be to speak with all those different individuals to try to develop a framework for what we want. The chief school administrator is the leader of the school district. School board members do not run the school district. We hire, interview the superintendent of schools, but that person, he or she, will be charged with leading the staff. So that person has to be able to, you know, lead a large body of people. I'm trying to skim through your other questions, and please forgive me. In terms of attracting new educators to our district, one of the things we did was we recognized that the salaries that we were paying our teachers, starting salary was very low. We were second to last in the County of Union. So this year with negotiations, we increased the teacher salary across the board in the new contract. And let me add, without an increase to the taxpayers to the city of Plainfield. We recognize. Thank you.
If I might, Ms. Williams, Ms. Anderson Persons, I recognize what you said earlier, and there was a lot of questions in that blurb. If it's okay with Mr. Keith Costin, President, if we can extend it by 1 minute to allow her to finish answering the question. And that will go for everyone. Everyone will get 3 minutes. Is that okay, Mr. Keith?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Continue, Ms. Anderson Person.
Okay, thank you. And if elected, will the board begins meeting in terms of meeting with the teachers union for the next contract negotiation? Absolutely. That should be something where it's timed out correctly so that we're starting that process early. Contracts are reviewed and they expire in June every 3 years. And that would be one of the first things that I would ensure in the next contract negotiations, that we would start that process several months ahead of time as scheduled, because it's not fair. We want to make sure that our staff understands that they have a contract in place since they are coming here and they're working and they're really working hard for our students. A lot. I'm going to leave it there because I have a lot to say and I don't think I have enough time, so I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson Person. Up next, Ms. Hembry. I'm sorry, Mr. Gray, you're next.
Yes, so what qualifications that any candidate for superintendent must have? I think that any candidate for superintendent, first and foremost, they have to be a leader. They have to be able to deliver the right people in action in order to do the work that's needed at the right time. Also, they need to be able to drive towards district goals rather aggressively within a timeline established by all 9 members. And in terms of allowing PEA to be a part of the process, all the members of the community should be able to weigh in on the next superintendent. To the extent not usurping the democratic process into what contractually PEA is able to do impartially as a matter for the 9 members to decide, and I hope to represent those 9 members, one of those 9 members come January. So, the qualifications are all the qualifications you expect in a good leader. Being able to understand where the people need to be at the right place at the right time, understand how to drive towards the district goals. Those are the most important thing as well. In addition to that, I think what should, consume most of my time here is, what do you propose as a strategy to attract new educators to our district? It is a lot. Lynn Person Anderson just mentioned salaries as being very important. I think it's a gestalt, right? The labor market problems are enormous. We know what the labor market problems are that many teachers are facing. You need talent recruitment administration, HR, benefits administration. In terms of retaining teachers, we're going all the way to Puerto Rico to retain teachers. We can go to Hispanic serving institutions in the area, Union County College, it's Rider University. These are teaching institutions that we can reach out to in order to make sure we're getting the talent and we're developing a pipeline in order to address the teacher shortage. In addition to that, the win-wins for everybody. We know teaching is a gendered occupation. We know that there's a significant amount of women. Invest more in things that we can try to do in order to make sure we're attracting the right type of talent. We know childcare expenses are going up significantly for people. Let's see if we can invest it directly into teachers. Also, from an operations perspective, we can streamline the teachers. We use all these subcontracted services, the Kelly services. We have to flatten out the process in order to recruit the best teachers, focused on time and delivery of those services as well. And, again, we should really focus on taking advantage of win-wins for, teachers and the district in order to make sure we're attracting the right talent and retaining teachers for a very, very long time. So one of the big things I'm big on is working with PEA to work to solve these problems collectively. And hopefully you vote column 2 November 8th so I can bring these fresh ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Up next, Ms. Hembry.
Yes, hi. Well, in addition, for the superintendent, one of the qualifications would be that that person must have worked in an urban school district similar to our district. What is her critical pedagogy? What is her theories about that? What is her theories on education? What is her educational experience? What is the person's educational experiences? Also, when it comes to a superintendent and PEA and the community, we need to have a community forum, and we have that in place. We have town meetings. We will have a town meeting specifically for those to come, PEA and community members to come out and tell us, what do you want in a superintendent? Vet the superintendent. So we will know what qualifications the parents want and what qualifications the PEA want. The other thing about concerning new teachers, attracting teachers, our salaries, are they competitive? Are they competitive with the surrounding townships? Just recently, we had a contract, and my opponents were part of the negotiating team. The salaries still need to be higher. They need to be higher, more money, because the teachers who are leaving, every time I hear someone leaving, who is leaving, that person's leaving to go to another district for more money. The other thing we need, morale. It's low morale in this district. We need a positive school culture and school climate. If you want to retain teachers, you need positive culture, and it's not in every school positive. The other thing I have heard, and even we were told, that some people didn't come to this district because they would go on board meetings, and some of the board members were totally disrespectful. If we want to attract new teachers, new staff, then the board members have to be very respectful to each other. We have to be more professional. We have to have civilized discussions so we can promote academic achievement for our students. The whole thing is that we need teachers to teach and students to learn. And we can't do that. We can't do that unless we have a positive school culture. We can't do that unless we have high morale among the teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Hembry. Up next, Ms. Pyle.
Yes, okay, so here we go. So this is the great questions. Since we're at this critical moment of leadership transition, where I would believe there will be a well-discussed agreement with non-conflicted board members that the superintendent should be someone who loves children and who could hit the ground running. They should want to evaluate, change, and sustain an optimistic climate and culture for this school district, which is essential in student learning and growth. Perhaps this selected candidate for superintendent will want to do a survey in order to take the temperature of the district. Knowing the influence that the superintendent has on the success of our schools, it is important that the PEA is part of the hiring process, especially when we know how closely the influence of across the staff. The superintendent is across the staff. The climate and culture of our teachers must include in the first steps, and must include in the first steps. Doing so is making certain that they get a say in who their leader will be, the PEA. So if you have a happy teacher, then you will have happy students. That's my belief. So some years back, Lynn Anderson-Person and I were invited to sit in a meeting with the Rutgers School of Management and Labor Relations, which is hosted by Saul Rubenstein. We participated in this well-needed program, which is a collaboration of school reform, the creation of union management partnerships to improve public school districts has proven to benefit several school districts. The superintendent should want to continue this collaboration, and she or he should be involved. And since Lynn and Anderson Person and I push very hard for the district to have a strategic plan, and we are now in the process of finally creating a strategic plan, the superintendent candidate must be willing to carry forward and implement the vision of our strategic plan when it is completed. Now, regarding the educators, again, these are excellent questions. It is no secret that the eye is on Plainfield Board of Education. And so it might be somewhat difficult getting new educators to join our district. However, there is a teacher shortage, period. And the teachers that are out there need a job. And the teacher college graduates also need a job. So we are not the only district that is searching for talented educators. So presently, we do have talented teachers and students. So we can ask those teachers to refer other teachers into the district and get a reward. And those teachers that were referred can possibly get sign-on bonuses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pyle. Up next, Ms. Shatira Smith.
Thank you. So the best qualifications, I think, for Plainfield superintendent, well, this position is very critical and is important to the growth of our district. So I believe that that person should be able to, one, come in and understand the climate and culture of our town and district. She should be able to build strong relationships, be a strong communicator, a great listener, transparent and committed to the mission, able to receive constructive feedback, as well as, want the best for our Plainfield students. Yes, I do believe that it's important that the PEA is involved with selecting a superintendent. This process should definitely be a collective effort. The teachers and staff can offer such great feedback and have a sense of what is needed in the schools that they work in, because they're firsthand there. In order to recruit or attract new talent, I'm always, in my field, this is, something that we do daily. And one thing I always say, attracting talent nowadays, we have to definitely think outside the box. We have to think of incentives that will set us apart from other districts, attending job fairs, tuition reimbursements. Of course, competitive salaries is very important. You want people to apply. You want to be in a competitive world. So people want to make sure they're making good money to attain their lifestyle. Another good thing could be, creating referral programs, where people can get an incentive for referring qualified applicants. Have an effective media campaign, utilizing all tools. So, when it comes to recruiting, there's so many things that we can do and think of, but we just have to be creative and think outside the box to draw the right people to our district. Some of the attributes that we can enhance, sign-on bonuses, offering resources needed for the schools, definitely having a great culture and climate, offering career growth, and quality professional development. A good way, I believe, that you are able to retain teachers and staff is by, acknowledging, making them feel appreciated, listen to their concerns and needs, and then also making necessary changes to help them make the environment better. Promoting within, again, offering that career growth, and of course, creating an environment that they enjoy working in, and supporting them. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And finally, Ms. Shante Smith.
So Plainfield Board of Education needs a superintendent who we can trust with our children, our personnel, our resources, our budget, and entrust them to carry out the district's vision and values. We need a candidate to interpret the needs of the district thoroughly and not only make recommendations to the board, but have the readiness to see the recommendations through and evaluate the results and keep the board informed with what's going on with positive and effective communication. To speak to the second part of the question, when elected to the board, I will advocate for all stakeholders that have a vested interest in the success of our children to come to the table at the proper time and place with positive suggestions to add to the process that is outlined for an elected board to embark upon. Now, speaking in regards to teacher recruitment, let's face it, we have to take a critical look at the conditions under which we are asking educators to join and remain in our district. 61% of our students are economically disadvantaged. 50% have English as a second language. These things affect the morale of teacher quality. So we have to take a critical look at this. So I propose a strategy of bringing more support staff into the district so our educators can get back to the love of educating. The educators are wearing so many hats. So the love of teaching is getting lost in the day-to-day due diligence to do our job plus more. I am aware that the school district is the largest employer of the city, but we currently only have 4 reading specialists in the entire district, 4. Meanwhile, we have reading proficiency scores of 25%. So the key to addressing shortages don't lie in recruitment policies, but the support we are willing to give the educators that we have and the educators that we're inviting to come to our district. So from here, I believe that Plainfield needs support staff and implement the Earn While You Learn initiative to provide affordable pathways into the profession of education. This registered teacher program can allow individuals such as teacher assistants and specialists to receive pay while they gain teaching skills while taking coursework to earn their teaching license. This can allow becoming a teacher to be more affordable while pre-existing teachers get the support that they need. A lot of teachers aren't leaving because of money. They're leaving because they don't get the support that they need, which will in turn increase in teacher retention. So once I'm elected, I'm ready to back my fellow board members to ensure that Plainfield Public Schools get the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Title I to fund this program.
Thank you very much. I'll pass it back to Mr. Keenan Gray for the next question.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. All right, our next question reads, if elected, will the board begin meeting with the PEA for the next contract negotiations before the end of our current contract so we are not left without a contract? And how will you handle disagreements with the unions? And that goes to Ms. Anderson-Persons to start off.
Okay, I was waiting for a combo. Hello. Okay, so again, very good question. You know, it's important that when the contract negotiations do come up, that the board is doing those in a timely manner. So I will make it my business during the next contract negotiation that they're done on time. There's a lot of time in there that we could prep and meet with the union to find out what their issues or concerns are, as well as finding out what administration, what their issues or concerns are. So I definitely would be in agreement with that. The next part of your question was, how do you handle disagreements with the union? Well, first and foremost, you have to listen to people. You know, you have to hear what they're saying. A lot of times I find, you know, as a board member, people just aren't listening to one another. You know, you may have 2 different groups and they're both saying the same thing, but they're so frustrated with the outcome, they stop listening to what the other person is saying. And they walk in with preconceived notions about how they think the other group is. And that doesn't allow us to get to a solution-oriented process. So I would start off by listening with the unions. And I found that to be very effective when we were doing the contract negotiations this cycle, because when we sat down as a group and we were just kind of pushing back from the table and really finding out by saying, well, why are you asking for that? And then listening to why they were saying, what was going on in their buildings, what was driving their insistence for a particular item, we realized that we had a lot of stuff in common. So consequently, we were able to get to resolutions a lot faster. And I deepened my respect for the teachers union in terms of what they do in terms of their job and all that entails. So again, I will leave it, the communication starts with listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson-Persons. Next, we have Mr. Azim Gray. Mr. Gray, would you like me to read the question again?
Sure, you can read the question. You're on mute. Thanks.
All right. If elected, will the board begin meeting with PEA for the next contract negotiations before the end of our current contract? So we are not left without a contract. How will you handle disagreements with the unions?
Absolutely. So you're just coming from a union family. I understand what it means not to have a contract and to constantly be in this place where you are, trying to figure out what's my salary increase is going to be, what's my health insurance is going to be for the next year. So my intention is not to leave any union member without a contract. So this time I'm gonna big up my experience also with the School of Management and Labor Relations, of which I was a student at Rutgers. I went to labor school. I didn't go to business school because I wanted to get an understanding of how to, do things, win on behalf of communities, especially as it relates to everyday working people, right? So my intention behind, working with people who, with difficult positions or individuals who you trying to find some agreement or consensus with, is to try to get the yes, right? And getting the yes, it's a lot, it's active listening, but it's also differentiating between positions and interests, right? So Fisher and Urey, they have this book called Getting the Yes, right? Which is a favorite book of mine. You get the yes by getting an understanding of what the person's interests are removed from their position. So, give an example of a chef, right? And, you have one sous chef that's asking for, they want an orange, it's an orange. The logical thing maybe for one sous chef and the other chef is to cut it in half, but one person may want the skin of the orange, the other person may want the pulp of the orange, right? So it's figuring out how to listen in order to actively get to what people's interests are and driving those interests towards a consensus to common goals.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Hembry. Ms. Hembry, would you like me to read the question again?
No.
Okay.
No. There was a time that PEA and board members would meet so that PEA would give the board members their concerns, their issues, the issues that were pressing for the next contract. Once they met, then they would have more meetings before negotiations so they can come to some consensus on what those issues are and how they can be resolved. So once the negotiation starts, you don't have impasse because you have worked out already in the pre-planning and the meetings that you had before, you have worked out some of the problems that you would have encountered. So now you're at a point with the negotiations, you know exactly what the board will do and the board knows what you want. So you will meet halfway, consensus will be given. Now those issues that you can't receive consensus on, then you're gonna have to, with the disagreements, you have to go back and forth, compromise until you can come to some resolution, because you don't want to get to the point where you need a mediator. You want to work it out, listen to each other, because you've had these meetings before you started the negotiation process. And you both know, both sides know what each side, what the board would give up and what PEA would give up. So now you're at the point where if there is a disagreement, you would have to compromise until you come to a resolution. And I believe if you communicate and you listen to each other and not talk over each other, you can negotiate.
Thank you, Ms. Hembry. Next, we have Ms. Powell. Ms. Powell, would you like me to read the question?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So if elected, which I hope so, I remember several years ago when the PEA worked for years without a contract. This was obviously not good. And now that I am a board member, I understand the importance of negotiations being completed in a timely manner. So this PEA contract is up in 2024. So I would hope that in 2023, the negotiations will begin. This process can be lengthy, so it should begin at the beginning of 2023. Once the board has selected a president and a vice president and the committees are established, then the negotiations committee should be selected immediately and the negotiations should begin. And this can be done. And regarding disagreements, it's going to happen. And like Ms. Henry said about the impasse, that's the word you don't want to hear come up. But that's why it's called negotiation. So however, the committee has 1 full year. If they start in 2023, they have 1 full year to hash it out and come to a final agreement and have this contract ready by the beginning of 2024. And it can happen. And I hope it does happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. Next, we have Ms. Shatira Smith. Ms. Smith, would you like me to reread the question?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. If I'm elected, yes, I am willing to meet with PEA and have, meet in a time that ensures that we have substantial time for negotiating the contract. In my experience, I do know that union contracts do take time because you have each party trying to negotiate what they feel is best for the people that they represent. So you're going to have disagreements. You're not going to agree on every single thing. But I think it's important that when you do start the process, that you take into consideration when the current contract ends and create a deadline that will allow us to make sure that the new contract is effective by the time the old one ends. One thing that I also, in my experience, realized that when a contract is prolonged and takes too long to actually be completed, it affects the morale of the environment. And you don't want that to happen. You want to prevent that. It would be wonderful to be able to have a contract negotiated on time, signed and completed by the end of the current contract, make everyone happy. To handle disagreements, again, like everyone mentioned, we need to listen to one another, have the conversations that are needed, do the research that is needed, and then come to a resolution that is fair for all parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And finally, we have Ms. Shantae Smith. Ms. Smith, same question. Would you like me to read the question?
No, thank you. So when elected, we need to organize at the first meeting in January to determine what our structure will be for the ensuing year. Once established, if I am appointed to the negotiations committee, I will promote a collective bargaining ratification that does not allow the current agreement to lapse. This will allow the district morale to stay level, if not increase, by showing the unions that we are in this education process together. If and when disagreements do arise during the process, I will do my best to ensure we maintain respectful dialogue on both sides of the table in order to continue the necessary and productive conversations needed to ratify an agreement.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'd like to remind all candidates to please put their computers on mute. Next, we'll have Ms. Williams, who will give the next group of questions.
Okay. How can we better utilize communication tools to reach out to parents and families in the district? How will you make our schools more welcoming to our families? And how will you reach out to families who do not have the same language, computer savvy, and cultural understanding of parent-school expectations that you have? Up first, we'll have Ms. Anderson-Person.
Okay, great. Wonderful question. Communication is key in school districts. Right now, the Plainfield Public School District, we utilize the district website. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have robocalls to parents, and we have an email system. And all those things are good processes to have in place. However, not all of our folks will utilize these sources. It's not a habit for them to go to these sources. So we have to try to think outside the box in terms of how we're going to communicate with parents. The district website was recently upgraded in terms of languages so that in the drop-down menu, it'll automatically shift over to a list of 30 some odd languages, and the whole site will change over to reflect that language. So that's a pretty powerful change with the district website. We cleaned it up to make it more user-friendly. We had people from the community go on an ad hoc committee to kind of work to improve how the website was being laid out, because parents had complained, and rightly so, that it was difficult to find stuff and it was just not user-friendly. But I think that we can do a better way in terms of continuing to communicate with our parents. And we have to understand sometimes the parents are not going to come to us. Sometimes we have to go to where they are. So we may have to think outside the box in terms of how we're reaching out. That might look like something like showing up at a block association meeting. That might mean showing up in churches and asking for a few minutes to talk to the congregation about what's going on in the Plainfield Public School District. That might mean nonprofit organizations asking for 5 minutes of their time on Zoom or in person to share with them what's going on. It's not a habit to say, honey, let's go home and log on to the Plainfield Public School District because I'm just. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson-Person. Up next, Mr. Gray.
I think that first and foremost, communication to drive parents out, it's there, they're not coming. And it's largely because we don't want parents at board meetings, right? The infrastructure there for the board meetings, there's not any childcare that's present. I went to a board meeting with city council members who were present, who don't appear in person, but they felt as though they wanted to appear in a photo op for the strategic planning meeting. And when they were present, there's absolutely no childcare. And that's one of the major impediments for working parents. You kind of consider where the district is at in terms of the type of parents you're dealing with. These parents work from can't see in the morning to can't see in the evening. The last thing they're going to do is go on the website and try to figure out what their kid is doing. I think we have to really extend the infrastructure there in order to, build the infrastructure in order for parents to come out to the meetings. I think going on the website, that's window dressing. I think that's huge. That's very important. But then also they're organizing all these different parents, right? They go to religious functions, culture related functions, and we need to meet them at their space. I fully in agreement with that, but it needs to be a focus on really, making the structure of the board, the structure of our institutions more responsive to working parents. I think right now it's currently not, and that needs to change. We need to redirect resources in order to make sure that you have these things in place for parents in order to come out to our functions and our meetings and actually solicit real feedback from parents at these events and start building structures that look like working institutions for working parents here in Plainfield.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Up next, Ms. Henry.
Yes, we need more communication instruments. For example, we need to have workshops on technology. Our parents don't know, many of them are not technologically savvy. We need financial workshops. That's another communication tool because they need help when it comes to finances. We need literacy workshops. We need all these things to help them so they can be more productive and can do what they have to do as parents. And so they can help their children. The kids need help in homework with their homework assignments. If the parents are equipped with these tools, they can help. The other thing is that how do we make the schools more comfortable for the parents? If the school has a positive culture, the parents will have a smile on their face when they walk in the door. We can have events for them. We used to have all types of events for parents. We used to have events with the Parent Teacher Association. And after the meeting was over, we would have these huge dinners where everyone would bring a dish and we would communicate and talk to each other. And of course, the language barrier exists, but we had translators to help out. And we need the course so that parents can become more savvy in the English language. If we had the workshops necessary for them every week. The other thing I do want is that since the parents are not technologically savvy when it comes to the report cards.
Thank you, Ms. Hembry.
I wanted to say the report cards. Okay.
Up next, Ms. Pyle.
Okay. So due to the COVID pandemic, texting, email, Zoom, Genesis, and other virtual means of communication was acceptable. And most of the times it was necessary. However, moving away from the wearing of the mask, there are certain moments where it is time to talk to parents and students, and sometimes meet with parents and students in order to be involved with the children's education or with their child's education. So perhaps it's time to retrain staff to handle parents' questions and or concerns via a live conversation. There are parents who don't want to use Let's Talk. Even though Let's Talk may have been helpful during certain times where you need a quick fix, it's not effective when the parent really wants to talk about their child's education. The board approved translators, so we should have dual language staff members available when there is a language barrier. And there are weekend classes available that teach Spanish-speaking parents basic English. And even though the school district is approximately 80% Hispanic, all of our schools need to be welcoming to all parents and students. And there should be an education process for not only students, but parents regarding the educational process and laws here in the United States. Because in their countries, a lot of Hispanic countries, they have no say about what happens to their child in the school. And here we do. So all families should know their rights as parents and students. Now, as far as the whole thing about we have a hybrid for our board meetings. And the reason for hybrid meaning you can come in or you can. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pyle. Up next, Ms. Shatira Smith.
Thank you. Communication is key with anything we do in life. Trying to communicate to a general mass is always challenging. So again, anything you do, you got to think outside the box. But I think, overall, continue to utilize the social media platforms, emails, robocalls. I mean, even doing texting campaigns. Everybody has a phone nowadays. Making sure our websites are user-friendly and the information is easy to locate and offered in different languages. I mean, maybe even offer in-person hours or meetings where parents can come and ask questions, get information, speak to someone, create a welcome committee that can focus on making sure they can think of strategies and ways that we can reach out to the masses, to the students and parents. Have events driven towards parents and students, getting to know the faculty and staff, make it a little fun and friendly, not always serious. We can make sure that all the platforms are translated, make sure events have the translators present. You can connect with local businesses, local churches, organizations, using billboards. I mean, when it comes to communication, you just got to think of ways and use all that you can, because everybody is different when they're receiving information and going to places where they find information that they need. So I think it's just important that we just continue to think outside the box and just utilize all platforms and any type of communication that's possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And finally, Ms. Shante Smith.
So let's face it, there's only but so much communication a teacher or admin can fit in a day-to-day basis, considering everything else that we have to do. So yes, we have PTO, we have classroom apps, we have social media, we have all of these things to connect to parents. But I would like to propose we take a page out of what Newark Public School District is doing, and that's by hiring parent liaisons for each grade. If we hire parent liaisons for each school and the different grade levels, one being English speaking, one being bilingual, the parent liaison will be the school support staff member that can connect the parents to the resources needed between home and school to further students' academic and social success. This position will play a vital role in furthering to increase the parent engagement within the school and the district. Having this support can contribute to the families who do not have the same language, computer savviness, and cultural understanding. Like I stated, if each school had these parent liaisons, the bilingual liaison can play the role of involving and working with parents to improve their understanding of the school district, maximizing their involvement in school activities, and minimizing language barriers. In turn, this will make our schools feel more welcoming to our families, and it will take the load off of our admin and our teachers' backs of feeling like day after day I have to constantly communicate, in addition to all of the additional hats that I have to wear because of the lack of support. Our children need the support of their parents, and our teachers need the support of having additional people such as parent liaisons to help build that conversation gap.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And I'll pass it back to Keenan for our final question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. After our final questions have been answered, Ms. Williams will come to close us out. All right, here's a final question. What kind of plan could you support for the near future to plan for enhancements to our facilities? From chronic overcrowding to lack of facilities for technical careers to a performing arts school with no performing arts space and buildings that are frankly unhealthy to work and learn in, what will you do to improve facilities? And the first question goes to Ms. Anderson-Person.
Thank you very much. Very important question regarding our buildings. Our buildings are, the majority of our buildings are in excess over 90 plus years old. It's not just a problem inherent to Plainfield, it's a problem inherent to all of the school districts in New Jersey. We are working to try to remedy that right now by doing a couple of things. Number one, we were successful in getting the School Development Authority to build a new school for Plainfield, which will house in excess of over 750 kids from kindergarten through 5th grade. That will be the Charles and Anna Booker School that will be on Woodland Avenue. So that is scheduled to open in September of next year. Another issue with facilities is we have overcrowding. We have overcrowding in our classrooms. So how do we deal with that? We have to have a short-term plan as well as a long-range plan to deal with it. In the short term, we've strategized. Well, let's put it this way: the administration recommended to us a solution, which was to take trailers which were donated from another school district and place them at one of our middle schools. Is it the most ideal situation? No, but in the excess of not having kids sitting on top of each other and trying to create an environment in which they can sit there and learn, the trailers is a temporary solution. So that's occurring in one of the middle schools. Another area that we're working on is, in order to really maximize our space in all of these buildings, we really have to ascertain that the kids that are currently coming to school actually live in the city of Plainfield. So we're doing the address verification, not in a punitive way, but these are valuable seat space that belong to the students that live in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Persons. Mr. Gray, you're up next. You need me to reread the question.
No.
Okay.
Collect myself there. I am astonished at this city's lack of care and attention to the infrastructure that goes into teaching our kids. We have money to build condos. We have money to build apartments. The administration feels like this is a solution to, or good for development, but we have kids learning in trailers. That just doesn't sit right with me. I'm just sorry. I just cannot, like, I know there's multiple different parts involved. There's the New Jersey Development Authority that's there, but they should have planned for the overcrowding that was going to take place within our district. And I think that there's something sinister going on when you can give away significant amount of money in the form of tax credits to pilots, to developers. Now, I know there's two different budgets. I understand that, but budgets reflect our priorities. So if they are giving away this money, right, to all these different developers, they should have a condition to build schools from that. And I feel as though it's a lot of money leaving the city because of that. And it makes me upset. This is why I wanted to run, because I feel like the ineffectual leadership that's got our kids in trailers right now, they shouldn't be members of the board anymore. They're connected to the MAP administration. And I am for one very sick and tired of it. So I'm sorry I can't contain my disgust, but I just find it awful. In one of the richest states, you have kids learning in trailers. It's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowable anymore. And I'm sorry that I'm coming off so passionate about it, but the fact that it still exists and you have these individuals that says it with a straight face, I can't contain my disgust anymore.
Time.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Ms. Pembry, you are up next. You need me to reread the question.
No, I don't. So we have capital outlay, but we don't have enough capital funds. For example, we need a performing arts school. So, but what we can do, we can have a referendum each year to build whatever we need, whatever enhancements we need. We need a new school. Okay, so the referendum will be for the next November election. And in this referendum, whatever the school, whatever the projected cost to build the school, the state will match it. So we only need 50% of the funds, and the state will match the other 50%. I don't understand why that hasn't happened. It doesn't make any sense to me. Short-term trailers, that is not the educational environment our students need to be in. What we really need, a new building. And PAWS will be the first one, and the two middle schools, overcrowded. They need either additions to the building or a new school. But we need the referendum. Tried to get a referendum for the vocational education wing for the high school. Haven't been able to do that. If my team is elected, then we know we'll be able to do a referendum. Just think, we only need 50% of the money, 50% of the capital. The state will match it, and the school authority, development authority, was great enough to finance the new school now. But their funds are very limited, and that's a long process. But a referendum we can do immediately. Next year, referendum, November. So we can have a performing arts school. How do you have? Excuse me.
Thank you, Ms. Embry. Next up, we have Ms. Pyle.
Yes.
Ms. Pyle, do you need me to reread the question?
No, I don't. Thank you. So last year, Lynn Anderson person and I were on a call with Washington, D.C. legislative officials regarding our facilities in the city of Plainfield. And we informed them that our school facilities are older than 100 years old, and even more than that. I think one of our buildings is like 1896. these legislators are working on funds to improve school facilities. And regarding the chronic overcrowding in the year 2023, the new Charles and Anna Booker School will be completed, and that will take up 700 of our students. And an address verification will take some of the students off the student rolls, and because those students will not live in Plainfield, and they should not be on our budget. Or they should not take the monies from our budget. And they are living in, most of them are living in neighboring cities. And yes, there are temporary trailers, which have worked for our teachers and our students. And I have not heard, as a school board member, no complaints whatsoever regarding these trailers. The trailers were recommended by the superintendent and the board approves. And I can and will support any enhancements to our school facilities. There has been discussions and planning with our acting superintendent / business administrator regarding our facilities, which includes improvement and the safety of our students and teachers and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. Next, we have Ms. Shatira Smith. Go ahead, Ms.
Thank you. This is a very, very important topic, and I believe that, you know, no student, faculty, or staff members should be working in any unhealthy environments. Because, you know, again, unhealthy environments affect morale, affect how students are learning. And that's something that we need to really look into. You know, as a board member, I would definitely support plans that are geared towards building new schools, you know, maybe even renovating current schools if possible, school additions, just to create the space that's needed to make sure that we can not have crowded classrooms, or just in general, just focus on, you know, having a plan that our current facility, until we can have a major plan of maybe the adding of the new additions or just the renovations, that the current condition is in the best standard that it can be. And, you know, making sure anything that needs to be fixed, painted, what have you, just creating a very healthy environment for all. I think it's very important. I think we need to have the conversations needed to just really just create a solution. And once we create a solution, put the plan in place and make it happen for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Finally, we have Ms. Shantae Smith.
So I have heard this concerns during my active campaign quite often. Plainfield has been at the forefront of public education since the 19th century. We have one of the very first public schools in the state of New Jersey. And as a result, let's face it, with our respect to historical preservation, our schools are old, right? Plainfield High School, for instance, is the second oldest school in the state. And the secret we all know, we call one wing the old building for a reason. And just for clarification, when I was in 6th grade at Maxon, there were trailers, but I'll move on. Now, I do believe that my team and I, when we are elected to become board members, we will advocate to the administration to make the long-term range facility planning a top priority, only second to the improvement of instruction, right? Furthermore, I accept to take my advocacy with my team members, column 2, to the officials at the state level to ensure we receive our fair share of the School Development Authority funds for building projects as a former Abbott school district.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Ms. Williams will close us out. Thank you all.
I'd like to say thank you to the candidates for joining us, addressing our questions, and for your flexibility tonight. Thank you, community members, for tuning in. I hope you had an informative time. Have a good evening, everyone.